So I filled it in, pinged it off, and then I got the response saying, learn some JavaScript and then book in your entry exam. And I panicked. I was like, oh, I'm still in Mexico. Not sure what to do.
It's pretty cool, though. It's a pretty cool drop, isn't it, to say I'm in Mexico. Lucy, first of all, tell us a bit about yourself.
Thanks, Ian. So yes, hello everyone. I'm Lucy Woodhead and I'm a software developer at GSK. I have been coding for about 2 years now. I really enjoy it and I find it really rewarding and a very satisfying career. So I'm really thrilled that I went through Northcoders and then pivoted my career.
So you're doing pretty well at the moment. I believe you've won an award recently. Tell us a bit about that.
Yes, I did. So it was the Tech Women 100 Award, and I was nominated and then selected as one of the 100 winners. So I was really, really happy to discover that, especially because, again, I haven't been coding for very long, but it's so nice to know that you've made an impact on people and helped people along the way. Whilst doing something that you really enjoy. So it didn't really feel like extra work. It was just something that I was passionate about doing anyway. So it was a real delight. The ceremony was actually this week, last night. And they put on a great show, all virtually, and it was really nice to be able to celebrate with the others and also network with them as well.
It's a pretty cool achievement to say you've won an award after 2 years of being in an industry. That is insane. That is so cool. Well done. All right, so tell us, before Northcoders, tell us a bit more about what you were doing before Northcoders.
Well, how much time do you have? So I actually studied music at university. I grew up playing the piano, really like classical music, so it made sense to study that at university. And I really enjoyed the course. But then when it came to graduation, I sort of knew that it wasn't really going to be feasible to become a performer 24/7, 9 to 5. And instead, I wanted to utilise some of the other skills that I'd gained from my degree. So thinking about ensemble work, project management, and working with other people, seeing things through from nothing, and then having an event in a couple of months' time, and then putting that into production. So I was really lucky to get on the graduate programme with my local government, which is Leeds City Council, and I was thoroughly convinced that they would put me in the arts department. Doing music, working with schools and everything. And then they called me and they said, we'd like to offer you a place. We're going to put you in the digital team. And of course I was a bit surprised, but open-minded, let's see what it's all about. And then I joined and it became quite apparent that I'd be working on websites, helping teams to build websites for other services, and then also developing some apps. Well, I wasn't developing them, working with others who would be writing the code. So this is sort of where it all began, really, because I wasn't writing any code, but I was starting to notice other people. And I'd see these developers and see lines of code on their screen, and I'd go up to them and say, what is it that you're doing? And they explain, this is CSS, this is JavaScript. I thought, oh, wow, where did you learn to do that? And some of them had learned at school, some of them were self-taught. But I thought it was really fascinating. And that then became one of my sort of goals, to be able to pick up a little bit of knowledge about coding. So I was trained up on the CMS system, so that was quite basic HTML and CSS, but I thought it was really satisfying to be able to update something on the website, a URL or a table, publish it, and then that's on a very public facing space, and then I could tell my friends and family, like, look what I did.
Yeah, tell us more about the CMS system. So was it something along the lines of WordPress where you'd have like a text editor fill in and then you could choose where the images went and color of the text and stuff like that?
Exactly that, yeah. And I just thought it was really fun to be able to build something like that, and then I wanted to know a little bit more, but the role became quite busy with some other aspects of the digital world, so thinking about user research, search engine optimization and things like that, and thinking about the psychology behind people clicking on things and searching for things. So there was a lot more work in the user research space at this point. One of the services that I was closely linked with actually was waste and housing, so I came to learn a lot about bins, and there was a team that were developing an app that would send out push notifications to tell you what bin to put out on what day.
What happened to that app? I so need something like that. I still can't. So I'm colorblind and I cannot tell the difference between the blue and the brown bin, and it's dark now, so every week I get it wrong, and I've got a really kind neighbor who keeps putting them back, but they keep putting them back in the wrong order. So at night time I have the same complex where it's sort of like, is this blue or is this, because they both look exactly the same. What happened to that app?
Well, we're going to need some new innovation there, I think. So yeah, there was lots of different projects going on like this, and then each time I was doing a new one, I picked up a little bit more knowledge about coding and the digital world, but it felt like it was going to be the big effort to be able to learn it all. So I was just picking up small skills here and there. And then after some time, I actually moved into a different role with Heineken, and that was an e-commerce role. But again, thinking about search, and it's just super interesting that, you want people to end up on the right product, even if they spell it wrong. So you have to account for a lot of different things. And I really enjoyed being part of a lot of research for that. Anyway, after some sorry.
So no, that's okay. So tell us, so what made you go from the council to e-commerce? Did you decided then you wanted to work in the digital industry? Is that what happened?
Yeah, absolutely. I knew I wanted to be in the digital space. And this felt like a new challenge, something a bit different. Obviously, I've been in the public sector, so it was quite interesting to try something else. I like beer. It was a good move. And I really, really enjoyed working there, and the role was great. But then in the back of my head, I've always wanted to go traveling, and there's never really a good time to go. So I just went and did it. I quit my job, and they were very nice. They said, when you come back, please do come and talk to us. So that was very kind. But I jetted off and travelled the world for 8 months, and I had the best time. But whilst I was out there, I actually came across a lot of people who were doing code in hostels. And I said, what are you doing? And they'd been surfing in the morning and then coding in the afternoon. They told me they worked remotely for some company. And I couldn't believe that this was a lifestyle some people were living. And it got me more and more intrigued about the whole coding thing. But of course, I was on my holidays and didn't want to think about it too deep.
So hold on. So these were proper digital nomads. So these were these actual paid software developers, experienced developers, not just new to the game, and they were full on exploring and coding.
Yeah, I'd say mostly experienced, but even then, maybe only sort of between 2 and 5 years into the industry. A couple of designers as well. And yeah, that was where the whole digital nomad sort of phrase really meant something to me. I was like, oh wow, this is a lifestyle that people are living. And then it was in my last 2 weeks, one of my best friends came out to see me. And she said, so what are you going to do when you get back? And I knew I'd had that conversation with Heineken about potentially going back. But I also knew I was interested in coding. And I thought that I'd have to go back to university for 3 years. And then this is where Northcoders comes in, because previously at a digital fair some time ago, I'd signed up to the mailing list, and I'd had some emails coming through. And whilst I was having these conversations with my friend, I sort of, some of the captions caught my attention. I thought, oh yeah, this could come. But at the time, I didn't know anyone that had done it. So I was very reliant on the testimonials and everything. And I thought, do you know what? I'm going to fill in the form. What's the worst that can happen? So I filled it in, pinged it off, and then I got the response saying, learn some JavaScript and then book in your entry exam. And I panicked. I was like, oh, I'm still in Mexico. Not sure what to do.
It's pretty cool though. It's a pretty cool drop, isn't it? To say I'm in Mexico.
So then we fixed a new date to come in and do the exam, and I was so nervous. I didn't actually expect to do well, but at the end of the test, I was told, we'd like to give you a place on the course. You've done really well. What excites you? And I told them everything that I'd learned from the council and from Heineken, and they were really happy to have me start in November. So I moved over to Manchester, because at the time Northcoders was just in Manchester. And then day one, week one, met the rest of my cohort. And then that's where it all happened, and that's where I learned. You
moved to Manchester. So where were you living before? Leeds.
And the funny thing is, in my last 2 weeks, they announced that they were opening a campus in Leeds.
Typical. That's funny. So you actually got a place in Manchester just for the boot camp?
Yes, I did.
That is commitment. That is real commitment. But I'm assuming it paid off. I've seen the app that you made. You made a really cool augmented reality beer app.
Oh, the beer app,
yeah, which is sick. It was a sick app. Let's not lie. It had nice
thank you. It was really fun to make.
I bet it was. Sometimes I still look at the projects that we've all made, and I can't believe that we made it in such a short period of time.
No,
I don't know how. I just don't know how.
Just those 2 weeks, yeah.
Exactly. So after you finished Northcoders, what did you go on to?
Yeah, so in the final 2 weeks, had some applications made and a couple of interviews, and I honestly didn't think I would get any interviews. I wasn't really I wasn't super confident, just because of all the talent around me in the cohort.
The course, did you enjoy? Obviously, you enjoyed the course. Otherwise, you wouldn't be doing this job still. But how was it for you? Because it's intense. It's not easy. And you were in a new city as well. So how was the whole? It would have been a completely new experience in every aspect for you.
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. It was very intense and a lot of hard work, but overall, I can't believe just how much I could learn week on week. You know, you reflect and you're like, how have I just learnt to do that? And then you just have to trust the process as well, because sometimes things won't make sense in the lecture, and then you try it out and then you learn by doing. And I certainly do anyway. So it was really satisfying to be able to learn so much. And I think in a weird way, it was almost like learning a whole university module every week. Yeah, it was intense, but there was amazing support from all of the tutors and my mentor and everyone around me as well. I just remember in the first week, though, I think physically I was there in the room in Manchester, but mentally I was still in Mexico. So I think I struggled at first to adapt from being on holiday to back to sort of a more academic environment.
As if you went that from being in absolute supreme chills to intense JavaScript and code. That must have been horrible, but then fun at the same time. Did you find that everything that you learned, so from your experiences before in fiddling around with HTML and stuff, did you find that helped you whilst you were doing the course? Did you have the mindset, because you would have known what a product should look like. You'll have had standards set for what you should expect from anything that you're producing. So do you think that helped you in the course? Because I know it helped me.
Yeah, definitely. It was really good because I spoke about some of that psychology work and think about the user needs. So I think I always had the user in mind when I was doing anything. But what I also realized was just how little I knew, and that there was so much more that you could know. But yes, it did help, especially when we got to front end, because I felt like, I know a little bit of CSS. So it lended itself where I could focus a bit more on some of the functionality. So yes, it did definitely help.
Cool. So after Northcoders, sorry, what was your first role? So you were surprised that you were getting interviews, which is ridiculous because you obviously did well. Everyone talks about you so highly. So
thank you. That's really kind. So I interviewed at a couple of different firms and also received a few offers. And I chose to work for Hark, who are a startup based in Leeds, and they work on energy monitoring. So IoT, they collect data from sensors and then stream it up to the cloud and then present it on a platform. And I joined as a junior developer. It was a full stack role, so I got to work on both the back end and the front end. The team, I think when I joined, there was about 9, and then when I left, about 15. So they did grow in that time. And I had a really amazing time there, and I got to learn a lot. And one of the really cool things actually about it was that on my first day, I was writing code that was going to go on to production 2 days later. So in my first week, I had code that was on production, and that was just really thrilling.
That was, what, did you work on that on your own, or were you pair programming?
I did have some support, yes.
Fine, but I mean, of course you did. I actually really like pair programming. I've learned this.
I do. Yeah, I think sometimes I talk too much, but but we get the work done.
So within your first week, you put together some production code, which is a big deal. And it's a startup as well. So what did you say? They was it for heating systems that you said?
So smart buildings, thinking about lots of devices, so fridges, anything that can be monitored basically with environmental data. So if something goes out of bounds or something is out of temperature, for example, we can send out alerts and let people know that something's wrong and that something could be broken. What
was it like working in a startup? Going from, because my brain would say that after doing something so intense at Northcoders, going into startup would actually suit you because you're sort of prepped for that intensity. Did you find that?
Yeah, absolutely. I felt ready to go. I was raring to go. Couldn't wait to learn more things because I was, like you say, I already had that momentum. So I was keen to get in straight away, and to have something on production so soon was really good, especially having just done the project and then my own personal project the week before that. So it really kept it going, and I felt really motivated. I couldn't wait to learn more. I think it was also scary though, because then you realise how much more you've got to learn on top of that. And then there's all these processes and the way that the teams work. And then there's DevOps and all these extra things as well. So I did realise that, wow, like this is only the beginning. There is so much more to cover. But I think one of the really lovely things about being at a startup is that you do get to know everyone, and it's like a family unit. And you all support each other, and you're all in it together because you're there to grow the business as well as code all day. So yeah, many different aspects I got to be involved with.
So after Hark, what did you move on to?
Yeah, so I have got a new role in the pandemic. So I'm now at GSK, and of course I know it's quite different going from a startup to a big corporation. But I guess this is fueled by a couple of things. So whilst I am really interested in the energy space and having previously done work with reducing waste and helping the citizens of Leeds, and then obviously being at Hark, I'm also really interested in healthcare. And I think it's a really relevant time to be moving towards something like that, particularly health tech and ways that we can help the world. So that's one really big pull factor. But then also, I think that maybe I'm weird for saying this. Weirdly, I think I crave a bit of the corporate environment and some of the structures that have in place. Yeah.
Why? So how long were you at Hark for?
18 months.
18 months. Okay. And then you've. How did you feel in comparison to when you started to when after the end of those 18 months? Would you say you were a really confident developer? Or would you stay? Because I always feel like you're always feeling daunted, but what you realise is that it's about being able to figure stuff out, and it's not about knowing everything. How would you say you found that those 18 months?
I definitely grew in confidence a lot. I remember in the first couple of months, I was really nervous all the time that I was doing things wrong, or really frustrated that I didn't know how to do things. But then again, I think Northcoders really taught me how to teach myself in a lot of ways, because then I was still able to pick up more things relatively well and then apply them, pick up something else, apply it. And then I was just really keen to learn more. So I'd try and get extra sessions with my manager to learn more about DevOps and things like that, and mess around a little bit with Kubernetes. So it was just really good. And I think I'm really lucky that I had that support system in place. And every time that I asked for help or wanted to learn something new, someone was willing to lend their expertise and help to upskill me. So I'm really grateful for that exchange.
That's quite impressive considering you were in a startup. To you'd assume that everyone would be manic busy, but that's really decent of them to find the time to sit down and help you. That's amazing.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm incredibly grateful, and it was the best first role I could have ever wished for. So really happy. But yes, like I say, so I have moved on to GSK, and I don't know what it is. I think I just really like the idea of some of the structures in place in larger firms, but also that draw to health technology as well. And I think the thing with energy is I'm really interested in it, but I think with health, because there's people at the other end of the devices that you're using, I think it's just a bit more relatable for me in some respects, knowing that you're helping another human, and there's so many elements that are unsolved, that if I'm able to contribute to that, I think that's very rewarding and something that I definitely I'm excited about doing more of. So
they're a pretty decent company. So how long have you been working for it now? You're saying that you're running with a team. How's that going?
Yeah, so started in September, and we built pretty much all the foundations of the back end, and we now have some designs for our front end. So that is really exciting. It's going really well, I would say. I'm really happy with my progress in it as well, and I've been able to learn a lot from my peers. So I'm really just enjoying the process. I think one of the hardest things though is not meeting anyone in person. So it's before lockdown, it was quite easy to just turn your chair and ask someone a question, or someone can physically come over and have a look, and things will be resolved quickly. But I think it's taking longer at the moment to get things resolved. But that's just one of the symptoms of everyone working remotely.
I know it's well done for getting a job in the pandemic in the first place, but it is weird not being able to see other people. I think I'm finding the same thing, especially in this new role that I'm in. I'm spending less time talking to people that I would normally work with and solving problems together, and that's something that I really miss. And I feel like there's something so special about being in the office and sharing that screen with someone and just talking about it. And
exactly,
it's a big difference. So what would you say the stark differences are between working at Hark and working at GSK on this project that you're on? Obviously, you're in a slightly different position because you're making decisions on where this project is going. And I'm also, but it sounds to me like the project at GSK is a brand new one, whereas at Hark you were working on something that was pre-existing. Is that right?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
What would you say? So there's going to be differences in the way that the whole product is put together. But what about when it comes to dealing with tickets or particular aspects of the product? How do they differ between GSK and Hark?
Yeah, so I think at Hark, because a product existed when I walked in, there's a lot of feature building. So there are some processes established, and you already sort of have things maybe color coded or signposted, and you sort of know where to put things. Whereas moving onto a brand new project where everyone's new and we're all working remotely, is you have to establish a lot of those things up front. So there is a lot of more decision making, and I guess in some ways I've come in. They don't call me a junior here, so I guess there's that bit more influence as well. And I've had to really sort of step up and just be confident in my decisions and be able to say, I know that this has worked before, so why don't we try things this way? So it's almost like you don't have the foundations there, you have to build them from scratch. And that's one of the biggest differences at the moment.
So the decisions that you're making, are you finding that they're, obviously you have to have you get a gut feeling, don't you? When you know that something should be done in a certain way, you just get a gut feeling that tells you what to say. Did you ever find that you had that within you already when you were at Hark, where you had a gut feeling about something and you were just like, I think we should do it like this?
I think yes and no. Sometimes what's worked, because obviously I did do project management in a previous role. So sometimes yes. And luckily people have always been welcoming of new ideas and quite receptive. So there is always the opportunity to try your idea out and see if it works for everyone. And it is always really cool to be able to initiate new things as well for teams.
What about your colleagues? Would you say your colleagues are on the same level, or would you feel like they're better than you? How do you feel about working with them?
Oh, definitely better than me, yeah. But I think that's really good though, because then I learn new things all the time. I'm just always picking up new bits. And then sometimes when you're pair programming, you're sharing screen and you see them do something, like, oh, sorry, what was that you just did? And it's nice to be able to pick up new things just like that.
I love it. I got what was it, about a week or two ago? I wasn't really doing much code, but I got to pair program on because we've recently relaunched our new website. So I got to pair on some stuff there, and I missed it so much I could have cried, because it's just so
really?
nice.
Yeah.
You just you get to actually bond with someone, whereas I feel like when you're doing the more businessy stuff, you're just having meetings all day. But
it's a bit formal, isn't it?
Yeah. I really miss the whole just sort of chilling and having a laugh, but also doing really good, meaningful work at the same time. That's the best part of pairing.
It's fun.
So are you still working on projects outside of work? 'Cause you're quite busy. Are you still, and even over the last year or two, have you been coding outside of what you've been doing in your job?
Yeah, I have actually. It's not public, but I don't really have much that's available for people to go and look at right now. It's all just on my laptop. But I'd say the way of projects, it's actually been more of the women in tech groups and the AI community. So I've been the community manager for AI Tech North for a year, and I've also spoken at random conferences and events. So I really enjoy doing a lot of that as well. So whilst I have done a bit of personal coding, I've also been doing more that's in the wider tech community to help with some of other initiatives, because I just really enjoy being part of these groups as well. So it's nice to always connect and talk to other people.
How have you found working with the people at these other groups?
Oh, I love it. Yeah, I just think everyone's really welcoming, and the tech scene, particularly here in the North, everyone's just so nice and quite keen to learn, quite keen to share what they're doing. And you kind of almost grow as a community, and you'll contribute to each other's work. And if you have a problem, it's pretty easy to just hop on Slack, ask someone, and you'll get a response really quickly. So yeah, it's a very nice family. I
bet. Have you found yourself learning more from doing those other projects? Because that sort of forces you to have to get involved with projects and having to understand different code bases. So have you found that from doing it?
Yeah. Yes, there's been a lot of festivals. We've had Leeds Digital Festival, and there's a lot of companies that put on tutorials. So lots of different events where you can learn a very specific framework or learning more about the cloud, and they'll walk you through tutorials, so you can watch a video on one screen and then go through it on the other. And I think that's incredible and something that's really useful to tap into, because often you can then extract that knowledge and apply it to something else or take it into the workspace. Like, look what I've learned, you can share it with other people, and it's just continual learning, and I really like doing that. So yeah, the community is just brilliant, and I urge everyone to take part in some of the meetups. Virtually, of course, right now.
Yeah, I know. Well, hopefully next year, with everything going ahead, we'll be back to normal. I can't wait for it to go back to normal.
Me too.
I know. I really miss it. Do you think that things will be really different when you go in?
I guess it's going to be a bit strange because we've all just been talking online. So I don't know what it's going to be like, or when, to be honest. I think, I'm hoping for spring, but could be longer. I hope it's sooner than later though.
Have you formed relationships there? Because you've joined a new company where you don't get to meet people. We're human beings. We're not designed to communicate with other people on a screen like this. It's weird. So have you found yourself building relationships with your team over Zoom and stuff?
Yeah, I would say so, because in my first week, you have a meet the team and you say hello to everyone, and then from that, what I decided to do is book in a little one-to-one with everyone. And get to know them, just ask questions about their personal life, what they do at work. And I think that's been a really nice base to then continue speaking to people. Of course, not all day, but most of the time I just talk to the people I'm immediately working with. But I do think it's important to maintain some level of social activity as well, and not just keep it about work all the time. And they have made an effort to put on a little Christmas thing for us this Friday. So there'll be a quiz, and we're wearing our Christmas jumpers, and I think that's really nice. There's a joint effort to make sure that people are staying connected,
which is a big deal. You seem quite proactive. Both, you mentioned that when you joined the company, you asked for a one-to-one with other people on the team. What do you think it is about you that makes you so proactive? Is it because of your career history before Northcoders, because you're working in an industry where you sort of have experience of what works and what doesn't work and what's going to help you go forward? Or is it just part of your personality?
I don't know. I think it might just be part of my personality, but also a really weird thing is I do have a fear of missing out on things all the time. And I think that's why I'm full stack, because I just can't pick one. And when you start in a new place, I just want to know everything and learn everything. And I do feel quite determined to be able to achieve those goals. I find it so satisfying to be able to set something out and then achieve it, tick it off, right, okay, let's build upon that and do more. And I just think that's the most amazing thing. Maybe it is just part of me.
Well, that's good. No, I can completely relate to that satisfaction. Do you not feel a bit of what's the word? Not confusion or a sense of loss. So I have the same problem where I feel like I can do anything that I put my mind to. So when it comes to UX, I really like UX. I like being full stack. I'm interested in everything as long as it's fun. But do you not find that sort of takes away your ability to just concentrate on one and move ahead? Or do you not have that problem?
No, I do have that problem because, if you've been working on the back end for quite some time and then move on to the front end, and a lot of things will slip the mind and like, oh no, what was that? Can't remember how to use this property or something. And then you actually have to sort of search and look for it. But I don't know, that's okay, right?
Yeah. Do you deal okay with that? Do you still do any sort of UX or design stuff? Because you mentioned that you understand how to get to grips with the user's needs and build an app that works in key with that.
I guess a little bit. So we do have someone that hands over designs, but it's a very collaborative process as well. And I'm allowed to have my input and, think about whether a mode will be better than a slide out, for example. And then thinking about the language used as well, and also accessibility. So, people who may not be able to see the screen, how are they going to be able to use an app? So yeah, I do have a bit of input, but not the actual aesthetic and the design, but more of some of the words on the pages and the user journeys. Yeah.
It sounds like you've gone from an actual startup to sort of like a little mini startup, if that makes sense.
It does a little bit, doesn't it?
Yeah, because it is. It doesn't sound like there's much of a difference in regards to the pressure and having the influence and that sounds like it's still that excitement, that vibe that you get with a new exciting project is still there. It feels like that.
Maybe a little bit. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's something to do with working remotely and me just sort of, imagining all these things. I don't know, but there is a lot of collaboration though, and I think that's really good. So yeah,
definitely. What advice would you have for anybody who's looking to get into our industry?
Yeah, so I definitely think joining a meetup as early as possible is a really good idea, and also getting a mentor. Doesn't have to be anyone from your organisation. There's a lot of schemes now that exist, because I joined the Free Code Camp meetup in Manchester just before starting Northcoders, and it was brilliant to have both of them going at the same time, speaking to lots of different people and people who already worked in the industry as well, so I could get their opinions on the type of work they were doing and the projects they were working on. So I had a little bit of an idea before it came to my preparation for interviews. So it's always really good to get lots of advice, and then also trying things out, because there's a lot of resources on the internet where you can try before fully committing to something. I really needed the in-person lectures, someone actually talking me through what to do with the examples and fully understanding. I don't think I'd have had the discipline to learn completely on my own. Yeah, and I definitely really needed that classroom environment. But I think just trying things out online, going to meetups, going to all of these events that businesses are putting on to learn a specific framework or tool, and then just seeing if they like it, and then if they do, they can take it further. And there's so much support, so can't go wrong, really.
No, you can't go wrong. I didn't go into any, but I say that how long have I been trying to do this for now? Ages, about 10 years. And I remember I did a HTML and CSS course at the college when I was like 19 or 20, and then nothing came off that. And it's only when I moved to Manchester that I saw Northcoders because I was introduced to it, but I never went to any of the meetups, and I always feel like I've missed out on not having that influence. So maybe that's something I need
There's
to
so
get
many.
into. Yeah, I know. I've been to a couple after I first started when Northcoders hired me, but I've not been to any of the other cool ones. I need to start doing more stuff proactively. You're very endearing.
You can do them online now.
Yeah, I know, because I've got no excuses. Have I? I can bring the dog. I can literally bring the dog. So what's on the horizons for you? Where do you see yourself going? Because you're so ambitious, Lucy.
Ooh. Well, I'm actually really enjoying developing at the moment. Really love the coding. So I just want to get better and learn more about it, and just be super, super confident. Because I know I have gained some confidence, but it'd be great to solidify more of that as well. I'm really interested in some of the more product architecture type roles as well, and also looking at DevOps and some cloud work. I'd like to do a lot more in the AI space as well, because I've been doing some work with AI Tech North, and that's triggered another spark, and that's something I don't want to miss out on either. I've said about 3 different things there, but that's the reality. I think that I like all of them, and I want to dip into each one of those areas over the next couple of years.
I have absolutely no doubts that you are going to dip into each of those successfully, Lucy. You mentioned AI Tech North there. Tell us about them.
Yeah, so they're a non-profit organisation, and the aim is to bring people and businesses together in the North and learn together. So there's been a series of webinars where there's been a different theme each week. So we've gone from smart cities and health tech and fintech, and we draw business leaders to come and deliver those talks. And then there's also a couple of more technical workshops where we look at machine learning and how people can implement certain frameworks. So there is something for everyone, and it doesn't really matter if someone's a beginner or if they're someone that's commercial or anything. Everyone is welcome to the community. One of the things I've been quite keen to do is to bring more women into that community, because I think today it's been relatively male dominated, and that whole saying about you can't be what you can't see, and I certainly don't know many women in AI. So if I'm able to introduce a couple of other people to it, then that's amazing. So I've been trying to build the community there for the last year. I think it's going well, and we are actually open worldwide. We have people dialing in from Australia in one of our webinars recently, so it's a brilliant community to be part of.
How have you found being a woman as a software developer? Do you think are you working with any other women in your group at the moment? Do you think have you noticed problems? Because our industry is quite forward thinking, but you're right, it's male dominated. There's no denying that.
Yeah, so I'm the only female developer in my current team, but there are other women working in project roles that are surrounding the team, so it's nice to have those people to talk to. But in my last place for quite a while, I was the only woman in the whole team, and to be honest, I was fine, and I've been really lucky. I've never experienced any problems in my teams. Everyone's been so lovely and so respectful. I think outside of work, though, at some hackathons or like turning up to events, there have been a couple of comments, people saying you don't look like a coder, or what does a coder look like? And then, are you at the right event? And that's quite frustrating.
People have said that to you, Lucy. They said you don't look like a coder.
Yeah.
What was your reaction? In what context? Just out of the blue?
I think I'm really annoyed at myself as well, because when things like that have happened, I've not really then questioned it back, and I should have done, and I'm really annoyed about it. But yeah, I think just that collectively we all just need to change that perception. And I'm really glad to be working with a lot of different communities to do that, and also encourage more women to explore careers in technology.
Do you have any advice to women who are looking to get into? Because it is daunting. You're right. I feel like this whole weird belief that you don't look like a coder, like that just makes no sense at all. But I feel like perhaps as a woman, I know my sisters, they would never even consider getting into it. And maybe there are things that would push you away from feeling like it, because you just don't, I don't know, feel like you'd fit in. I can't explain it because I haven't experienced it. But what advice would you have for women who want to get into?
Come and join all these groups, because there's a lot of really good support networks, and some are for women and non-binary people only, and that it's a safe space basically for people to come and talk. I think I was really lucky because I decided to go into coding after having travelled, and weirdly travelling gave me a renewed self-confidence, and I felt, well, I can do anything, and people can say anything to me. And a couple of people did have strange reactions when I told them I was going to do a coding boot camp, oh, you won't enjoy it because you like talking, and nerdy people. There was all different things coming at me, and I just wasn't really hearing it because I was like, oh, I can do anything now. So I think that if I can instill that in other people through mentoring and paying it forward and taking part in some of these groups, then that would be a big win. If you know anyone, tell them to talk to me. My sister. My sister's now a developer.
Yeah, I know. She's got a job so quickly. Has she actually finished the course yet?
No, she's not finished the course.
How is she? I don't understand how she's got a job so quickly. I think that's insane.
This always happens where I have to go through everything in life first and, iron out all the kinks, and then she just breezes through because I've paved the way.
Oh, really? Are you the older sister?
I am, yes.
Oh, yeah. So I'm the eldest brother of 3, so I know exactly how you feel there.
You know it.
Yeah, I know exactly.
But I am happy though.
I bet you are. You two, you should start an agency together, like with just you two. What do you think you'd ever find yourselves working together? You could work on a project together, or do you think it would just be an argument?
I'm not sure because we haven't tried it yet, but I think we definitely should try it.
It's a really good way to practice. I think I wish my sisters would code with me, but they won't.
Oh, we can do pair programming.
Yes, hell yeah. Well, I can't believe how far you've come over the space of 2 years, and you obviously are so talented. You can just sense the ambition within you, and it's exciting to that you're doing so well. I'm trying to think about it. Is there anything else that you want to say, or any points that you'd like to cover to sort of help inspire others, or?
Well, I guess just if other people are interested and they're thinking about it, definitely go and explore it because there's no shortage of groups. And when I started this in 2018, I don't think there was many, but there's a lot more that have popped up over the years. So they are out there and everyone's really friendly. So just go for it and try it out, use the online resources, connect with people like myself and other alumni from Northcoders because the community is just brilliant. And yeah, you can't go too far wrong.
Hell yeah. And just another thing, just while it's popped into my head, I know that while I've been doing this role, I do doubt myself a lot. There's been periods of time where I've been like, oh, can I do this? And so on. Have you ever experienced, because you seem so confident, and unfortunately, people have this terrible habit of assuming that confident people don't experience insecurities or anything like that. But have you ever experienced moments where you've been like, oh, hell, have you ever cried or stayed up late at night stressing about stuff?
Yes, loads, way more than people would think. I don't know, maybe I just have like this happy face, but yeah, there have been so many times I've been so stressed because I've not understood something or I'm annoyed that I don't know how to do something. And in my first role at Hark, I remember putting my manager a couple of times into a room and like, I'm so worried about this. What am I going to do? And it does happen quite a lot actually. But I think what I've learned from that is that the panicking part hasn't ever helped, but it's the going and asking other people how they've done it or if they can recommend another way or what I should go and learn online or do a course or something. That's been the stuff that's helped. And I think that, so every time I've been in that position, I've tried not to panic as much and actually just go and action the things that I know will help instead.
Oh, really? So have you had a panicking moment because you had a big decision to make? Have you had a moment of that sort of like at GSK?
Yeah, definitely. Because, I know that I'm responsible for a lot more things here and you don't want things to go wrong. So in the back of my head, I'm like, oh, I hope this will turn out okay. And then, what if I don't know how to do something? And, how are we going to do security? I haven't really looked at that so much yet. Yeah. And then, but then the thing is you have to draw upon other people's skills because there's someone else who's done this for 10 years and draw on their skills and don't worry so much that you don't know everything. And just, draw on other people's knowledge and then collectively, that's what we're doing. We're a team. We all have to work together and not put it all on yourself all the time. That's
such a leader's mentality that you've got there, Lucy. So what you're basically saying is that when you're panicking or struggling, reach out for help and you will find that other people will be able to offer a solution.
Go reach out for help, definitely.
That makes so much sense. Jamo, is everything okay?
Yeah, on this I'm fine. Got a couple of things for you, but...
as in stop scratching the sofa. I can't help it. I get nervous too, I have nervous twitches at the start. It's just that we're going to chop it up and edit it so it would be fine. But don't worry about not being formal or informal. Were you nervous? I sense that you were nervous at the start.
Yeah, was that? Because I've never done this. I've presented my slides on a screen, but I've never presented me.
Really? Why? You're so cool. Why?
Yeah, I've never been on a podcast, and I think. Actually, I know where the fear comes from. So when I used to play piano and you'd have to do a recording and then send it off. And then if you make a mistake, you capture the mistake and then it's there for the world to see. And I think I'm thinking that for the podcast as well, where I stumble or I say, and that's going to be packaged and sent out to
I think I was watching something. This is so random because I don't think Mike Tyson's actually somebody to go to as a philosopher, but it was a suggested random thing on YouTube or whatever, and he was saying that some of the most powerful people are insecure, and I actually wonder. I think that's actually true. Like some people, I think it's the insecurity or the fear of not doing well that actually makes you do well.
Yeah, that's it. I'm so scared of failure. Like I always need to hit these goals, and it's like a self-inflicted pain. You know, I've got to do these things.
You're so driven. You remind me of my my best mate you've both got very similar personalities, and he's doing so well now. So
I'm so glad though that I discovered the world of technology. So glad, because I actually do put it down to that graduate scheme where I thought I was going to be in the arts department, and that could have been a really different story. But they put me in the digital team, and that's where it all brewed.
But it's obvious that you're obviously creative. If you have the ability to play music, you have something within you that can express emotions, I think, and you do it in a way that means that people can listen to it. I feel like for you to make anything,
like a conductor telling everyone how to code.
Yeah, kind of. But that's obviously showing now in what you're doing here. It's coming out. No,
I hope so. But I think it's really interesting because on a surface level, it's not really obvious that music and coding would ever be related or that similar, but I think they really, really are. And being a musician first has lended itself well to learning how to code. And that's simple things from the compiler, reading top to bottom, hoisting the functions and how we signs on the page. And actually, when you do look, there are so many similarities.
No way. That's quite cool. That's a really cool concept. I think, so I know how to, I'm one of the, you'll probably hate me. So I can learn to play an instrument, but I don't care about notes or anything like that. I just learn and remember, and then that's it. So I'm not very formal when it comes to instruments, but I see the point you're saying, isn't it? Go through line by line.
Yeah, but even without sheet music as well, I think the element of, you have a phrase and you can play it in so many different ways, or working on your own to working with an ensemble, and then with coding, you code on your own, but you're contributing as a team. You're all doing pull requests and it gets accepted or rejected. And then if you're doing something jazzy, your phrase might be accepted or rejected. So I actually think they're so similar.
That's the coolest analogy I think I've ever heard. You know, what was I looking at the other day? I was looking through my old map book, and I was looking at projects that I've worked on. And it's so crazy because I have this self-doubt, just like you're saying you do, where you sort of like, well, I can't see myself ever being a developer. But the amount of times I've built a website or made something in HTML or something really basic, or I've coded in JavaScript before, just not really thought this is JavaScript, PHP. For over the last, 10, like since I was about 19, I've started doing that. And it's quite nice to see yourself and connect to that way of thinking back then and just be like, you know what, past Ian, you're doing it now.
Yeah. I mean, if you go that far back as well, do you remember like Pixo and Bebo, and there was all these like little HTML things you could do? I guess we were doing it then as well.
It's crazy though, isn't it? Like, did you enjoy it? Did you enjoy it while you were doing it back then?
Yeah, when I had that glittery pink scroll bar, yeah.
No way. I couldn't remember those as well. Was it Bebo or Bebo?
Yeah, exactly. So I do feel like it may have even stemmed further back, but like you say, you only register what you're doing, I guess, in some of the projects that you're working on, and then connecting it with someone else having it on the screen like, oh, that's JavaScript. Yeah.
It's crazy. I mean, I still feel like with the projects that I've worked on so far, I still can't believe that that's me that did it. But I don't know if it's because I've just forgotten how I coded it, or if it, but even when I look at the UI, I'm sort of like, I don't think I made that, even though I did. I just, something with this weird thing in my brain that just doubts. I can't explain it. It's so weird. It's like, I did do that, but then surely I didn't do that.
That's what I feel like sometimes with the AR project, with the beer thing in the final 2 weeks of Northcoders. I look back and I'm like, how do we do that? In 2 weeks? It's
weird. I was looking at your project and I was thinking, oh gosh, this looks really cool. And I was thinking, could I build this? And I know I can. And yet there's a big, very loud voice in my head that says, no, you couldn't. No, you couldn't. But I know I can. I know so much more than I did when I finished project phase.
Yeah, absolutely. But I feel the same. Like, if you asked me to do it today, I'm not even sure if I could do it in 2 weeks. But I think, like you say, the momentum that's built up to that point, you just go for it, don't you?
And you're right. You get that confidence, don't you? We sort of like.
What did you do for your project?
So I did rescue. What did I do? Rescue for Tinder dogs. I did Tinder for rescue dogs. So I used the swipe. The swipe functionality that you've got in your app is dead smooth. For whatever reason, I did mine really, really manually. Is the only word I can think of right now. And the math that I took from the swipe, I don't know why, but it was glitchy on the end. It's something to do with the animation. Something was delayed. But yeah, I did a Tinder for rescue dogs because of this smelly rescue dog next to me right now. Which was cool.
Nala, is it? Nala?
It is Nala, yeah. She's been really annoying today, hasn't she? Normally she just sits down. She normally just sits down next to me and relaxes. Whereas today she's been sneaking around, playing with wires, which she's doing right now, knocking one, sniffing in Gemmo's box. And poor Gemmo's had to push her out of the way, which has been fun.
Oh, that's so sweet. So is Nala from one of the Dogs Trust?
Yeah, Nala's from Manchester Dogs Home. I rescued her. Oh, I've had her for so long. I rescued her 4.5, must be 5 years now. Oh, and she was so difficult and horrible. I could not have brought her into the office. She was such a horrible dog when I first got her. But I healed her. I like to think I healed her.
Oh, that's so lovely. Oh, that's such a nice story. And also a great app and really useful. The beer one's a bit too fun. It's really fun, but not necessarily useful.
No joke. I know you're saying you work with, all of these community things to get involved with other projects. In my break, maybe I need to do more stuff like that because I know I'll be good at it and I'm wasted not helping other people. So I agree that that's something I need to work on. But I also want to start working on other projects and I tend to procrastinate a lot, which is one of my curses, I think. But I've been legit thinking of going back to this rescue app and just calling up the dogs because everyone's at home, so you can't go and see the dogs. So I keep thinking to myself, maybe I should get this. She's standing on all the equipment. Nala, come here. Maybe I should get this rescue app going. She doesn't care.
Yeah, and you can ask the staff to take videos and stuff as well.
Exactly, that's the plan. And then who's going to complain? But there we go. But then I'm full of these ideas, and then I never follow through because I always.
When you ask me about personal projects, it's like I start a lot of things, but none of them are hosted. I don't really have much of a portfolio to show.
Is that something that? So you're the same. You're the same. So you have loads of stuff that you've not followed through. And...
Yeah. I tried to make a COVID dashboard, but didn't host it. Some games, things like that, but they're just on local hosts and that's about it. But I need to do more. This is pushed me, actually. It's made me think I should do more.
Why don't you, what stops you from, so you build it then? Do you build it to the final thing or do you sort of get halfway and then get a bit bored?
Oh, yeah, I think so some of them, yeah. So with the COVID dashboard, I guess in a lot of ways that was good to go. But then I don't publish them. I don't really know what it is. I think it's like judgment, people being able to see your code on GitHub. Yeah.
Why do you have that fear? I have this fear as well. Why do we all feel like this? Have you ever met anyone who's not afraid of?
Well, I guess not, because when I was having a bit of a panic at heart, my manager at the time had said, I get imposter syndrome too. It's totally normal. And then we just lean on our communities to build the confidence back up again. So no, I don't think I've met anyone that's 100% totally confident. I don't know. Do you?
And considering I work with really insane, the Northcoders, the teaching team know their stuff because they've done it so many times. And because they've had to look at so many buggy code bases in the past, their ability to solve problems is terrifyingly intimidating. They are so good. They really are. It's mind blowing. Yeah. But they still doubt themselves when they make decisions. And I really think that it's just part of this job. You don't know everything, but it doesn't make sense that it is because it sounds like a really stressful job. Maybe that's why we're paid okay. Cool. Well, it's been a pleasure to speak to you, Lucy. Thank you for giving all your insight.
Thank you for having me.
No, that's all right. I've really enjoyed it. Hopefully we'll have another chat soon. It might be nice to get you in if we do a conversation about AI. I'm trying to work with that. I'd love to have you on for that.